The end begins. This was it, the end of everything that led my life to this point. I was going to do it, right now. If I wasn't going to make the choice of taking my life, I would be surrendering to this miserable pattern, bound to repeat every regret, every missed chance, over and over. There would be no escape, only the endless echoes of the choices that brought me here. Choices I can't seem to outrun, no matter how far or fast I go. How did it come to this? There's a cruelty in the way memory works, bringing every past mistake into blinding focus just when I need to look away. I see every wrong turn, every compromise, every silent betrayal, mine or theirs. It doesn't matter anymore. They've all woven together into this suffocating embroidery, one I wear like a second skin. I can't shed it. I can't shake it off. I can barely breathe beneath its weight. And yet, there's something small, buried so deep within me that it's almost an echo, some faint pulse of defiance, a stubborn flicker that refuses to die. It's not hope, it's something far stranger, something raw and absurd. It's the instinct to live, even in the face of all this chaos and ruin. Even though the idea of staying feels like a kind of self-inflicted torment, there's still a sliver of myself that clings to the mere possibility of what? Redemption? Understanding? Perhaps just a moment of clarity, a slant of light on this darkness that reveals a reason to keep going. I'm torn between the fear of what I'll never know if I go, and the fear of the endless, weary unknown if I stay. There is a terrible beauty in this uncertainty, in knowing that even the smallest choice could unravel everything, set me on a new path, give me a way out of this endless spiral. It's that razor-thin edge that keeps me here, the possibility that the next breath, the next heartbeat, might finally make sense of it all. Chapter 1. To be or not to be. The lights on the machine flashed like a carnival, and the coins rained down with a sound sweeter than any goal I'd ever scored. That 50p turned into £4.80 in seconds, and as I scooped up the coins, I didn't know it was the start of something. I couldn't name it then. A thrill, a spark, a rush of dopamine that didn't fade. It bubbled inside me, a fire in my chest, and in that moment I saw him. An older Colin, standing there in front of me like a dream, smiling, resting a hand on my shoulder, telling me I'd done the right thing, telling me this was the way. I saw him with sports cars lined up outside his house, richer than all his mates, the master of every game he touched. And I believed him. I believed that kid with the £4.80 in his pocket could become that man. The idea struck like lightning. I sprinted home, breathless with urgency and conviction. In the quiet sanctuary of the kitchen, I remembered the vase, a humble guardian of my mother's secret stash. With trembling hands, I clambered onto a chair, my small fingers reaching inside until they brushed against the cool texture of a £20 note. For a moment, I had the right questions in my mind. Why, Coco? Why are you doing this? Stealing from your own house? I thought one more time and thought of the moment where it all started. The wall after our paper round, the cold bricks pressing against my back while the others ripped open crisp packets and swigged juice. I sat there counting my £4.50 over and over, the coins clinking in my palm like a promise. Who's all coming down the Puggies? Dave asked, crisps crackling in his hand. We'll meet here at 1. Fancy it, Coco? I didn't even know what the Puggies were, but I nodded. Aye, all right. I went home, grabbed my ball and headed straight back, booting it against the curb as I waited, the smack of rubber on stone filling the silence. We'll hit the park after, play headers and volleys once we've won some cash, Dave said. Yeah, we'll head up for a kickabout, I mumbled, though I wasn't sure what he meant about winning cash. When we walked into the amusements, the smell of stale chips and metal coins hit me. Lights flashed in the corners, and I got this memory of being wee, playing the 2p falls, bawling when the coins didn't drop, Mum dragging me out by the arm. The boys crowded the machines, coins sliding in, reels spinning, the clink of buttons echoing. I wasn't interested, bouncing the ball on my foot, trying to keep it off the sticky floor while the machines bleated and chirped. Fuck! Dave shouted suddenly, slamming his hand on the glass. Can't believe that's not paid out. It's due, the coin tube's full, they're hitting the floor. Coco, he yelled, waving me over. This machine's going to pay out. Nah, I'm not bothered. You got money with you? Just 50p. The boys laughed, eyes glinting. Just put it in, it's 50p, man, don't be a fanny. Fine, but you'll need to show me what to do. Dave's finger jabbed at the start button. 5p a spin, just hit that. I pressed the button, watching the reels spin lazily, feeling stupid, thinking what a waste, just standing there pushing a button. Nothing happened. Nothing. Last spin, I sighed, ready to walk off. Coco! Dave's voice cracked through the noise. You're on the board! The machine exploded in lights and noise, music blasting, lights flashing, coins rattling inside, and I felt something hot spark in my chest. Adrenaline, my palms went sweaty. I'm not greedy, I'll take whatever, I said, trying to sound cool, but my heart was hammering. Don't be daft, you want smash and grab, that's the one of the boys said, eyes wide. Now I was slamming the button properly, not just pressing it, but punching it, hungry for the lights to come back, for the machine to give me something. 3 spins in, the words lit up, smash and grab. Take it, they shouted, crowding the round. I'll do the feature for you, Dave said, grabbing the button. Go for it. Numbers flew across the screen, 60, 40, 20, times 4. It felt like magic, the whole machine alive. £4.80. I hit collect, and coins burst into the tray, clattering like rain on metal, loud, beautiful. I scooped them up, the cold weight of them heavy in my pocket. Wow, I whispered, staring. Is that all mine? Told you, smash and grab always pays. Let's go to the park, I said, but my voice was different, buzzing. As we walked, I kept slipping my hand into my pocket, feeling the coins, heavier than my paper-round wages, more than I'd made all morning in just 2 minutes. It was like I'd cheated something. That night I went straight to my room, emptying my pockets onto the bed, coins rolling across the duvet. I counted everything, lining them up, stacking them, the metal smell on my fingers. Then I lay in bed, eyes wide, watching the lights of the machine in my head, hearing the clatter of coins, the high fives, the rush. I couldn't wait to go back. The next Sunday we were back on the wall. What time are we going down to the Puggies today? I said, trying to sound casual. Dave laughed. Calm down, you must have enjoyed it last week, eh? We met again, me kicking my ball down the street, but this time it was the coins I felt bouncing in my pocket, not the ball. This time I wasn't holding 50p, I had £4.50, my whole paper round money. I went to the same machine, the lights greeting me like an old mate. 10 minutes, that's all it took. 10 minutes and it was all gone, every coin. I stood there staring at the empty tray, the noise of other machines ringing in my ears, and my stomach twisted. I need to win that money back. It'll pay out again, I told myself. If I just get more money, everything will be fine. When I arrived, my heart was racing and sweat dampened my brow, but relief washed over me. The reels were unchanged. No one had dared touch my machine. This was destiny. I approached the cashier with a confidence that belied my age, sliding the crisp note across the counter. The woman behind the glass peered at me, her eyes narrowing with suspicion, but she said nothing. Coins clinked into my hands, and with a quick breath I returned to my post. The first pound delivered. The machine came alive, lights flashing, numbers climbing, and then it happened. The feature I had waited for. Smash and grab. My triumph was modest, a paltry £4.40, but it vindicated my faith. I was right. I knew it was going to pay out. Alone in that moment, armed with £23 in coins and the thrill of autonomy, I felt untouchable. This was my heaven, a pocket full of freedom, no prying eyes, no judgment. I flitted from machine to machine, losing myself in the rhythmic whirl of reels until my pile dwindled and reality crashed in. Below £20 now, panic replaced my euphoria. I had to restore the vase. By some miracle or the cruel caprice of luck, I clawed my way back to £20. The uncertainty, the ups and downs, I loved the feeling. I cashed out, clutching a fresh note with reverence, and bolted home, retracing my steps with meticulous care. The £20 slid back into its porcelain haven as though it had never left. "Colin, where have you been?" my mother's voice called, tinged with suspicion. "Dave's," I lied, feigning nonchalance. "Dave's," she looked puzzled. "He phoned 30 minutes ago asking where you were." My alibi unravelled. "Yeah, I went to his, but he wasn't in." That day marked a turning point, the moment deceit first took root in my life, watered by the intoxicating lure of gambling. It was the beginning of a shadow that would follow me, whispering promises and stealing truths. That night, I lay in bed, sweating, the sheets sticking to my back, my mind twisting itself into knots. Should I tell her? Should I just walk into the kitchen and say, "Mum, I took it"? My stomach churned at the thought, the fear of her face when she'd hear the words. Days passed in silence. She hadn't said anything. Maybe she hadn't noticed. But by then, the itch was already back, crawling under my skin, whispering, "Go back. You can win it all back." I stood in the kitchen, staring at the vase, the same vase that had been there all my life, holding birthday cards, holding Mum's little secret stash. My hands were shaking as I reached in again, fingers brushing against the notes. "It's only £20, I told myself. Dad does well with the business, he won't miss it." But even as I folded the note and shoved it into my pocket, I felt something cold in my chest, a tightness that told me this was changing me. Gambling was changing the way I thought, twisting what was right, what was wrong. When I asked the lady at the desk for £20 in coins, she gave me a curious look, but again handed them over. And just like that, I was back in that world, my mind narrowed to nothing but the flashing lights and music of the machines. Over time, I knew every machine by heart, the holds, the nudges, the so-called best moves on the board. I could tell by the way the lights flickered if a feature was close, the way the coins rattled when they dropped, the rhythm of the reels when they were about to slow. But I'd learned by then, puggies are made for the player to lose. You had to be smart, tactical, always hoping you could outplay a system that was designed to bleed you dry, spin by spin. I'd stand there pretending to watch the screens, but really I was watching the players, watching for the moment they'd sigh and walk away, pockets empty, faces pale. That's when I'd swoop in, sliding up to the machine, whispering to myself, come on," as I fed the coins in, convinced I was smarter, that I could take what they'd lost. But I lost the £20 again. And again I made that same guilty walk home, hands shoved in my pockets, head down, bracing for the moment Mum would finally confront me, the moment her voice would break when she asked, "Colin, what have you done?" It became a ritual every week for what felt like a year, taking from the vase, gambling it all away, and walking back home empty-handed, feeling that same bitter guilt burning in my chest. Sometimes I'd win big, walking around with 3 or 4 times what I'd started with, my pockets heavy with coins and my fingers stained from clutching them. That jingle of coins in my pocket felt like a prize in itself, a reminder of a rare, elusive victory. But more often I walked home with nothing, just another loss I'd convinced myself was only temporary. My friends were in the same boat, scraping together their bus fare to get to the amusements, then walking miles back home because they'd gambled it all away. We'd laugh about it, clueless that addiction was behind every last penny we spent. I stayed on at school until the 6th year, though I didn't come close to doing as well as I could have. I always loved math and had a knack for numbers, which came in handy when I was calculating odds or figuring out potential winnings at the bookies or trying to gauge my chances in a hand of blackjack. It all fed into the ego that comes with gambling, the belief that I knew better than the bookies, that I could spot the good odds and avoid the bad. The numbers gave me a sense of control, a feeling that I had an edge. The day I finished my last exams felt surreal. A door quietly closing on school without any big goodbye. I convinced my parents I'd get a job after the summer break. They'd recently helped me pass my driving test and put me on their insurance for the Renault Laguna. I wasn't one for cars, but they figured it might open doors for better work, so I'd drive it now and then, sparingly. When my parents left for a 2-week holiday to Canada, they entrusted the car to me. But while they were gone, temptation found its way in. One day, rummaging around the house, I came across a bank card with my great auntie Lizzie's name on it, complete with the pin written down beside it. A familiar urge ignited in me. Here was a way to get some money, and with any luck, win it back tenfold. By now I was 17, freshly introduced to the bookies, a place that felt like my own personal paradise. I'd always loved sports, thought I knew them inside and out, and now the idea of winning money just by watching and betting on them felt like my destiny. I took £250 out of Auntie Lizzie's bank and headed straight to the bookies. My mates were clustered around a roulette wheel, but I brushed that off. Roulette seemed random, a fool's game. I was here to bet on sports, especially football, my world, my rules. That day my bets hit. I walked away with hundreds in my pocket, a rush that felt almost sacred, like I'd unlocked something hidden in the universe. It was Saturday and I was riding high, so I messaged my mates to see who was up for a night at Jake's place to celebrate. When I picked Dave up on the way, I couldn't help boasting about my win, talking myself up as if I had mastered the art of gambling. Ego blazing, I sped down the road, feeling untouchable. Dave kept telling me to slow down, but I shrugged him off. Nothing could happen to me. I was unstoppable. By the time we reached Jake's house, he looked like he'd just survived a near-death experience. Coco nearly got us killed on the way here, he told the others. Don't be daft, I laughed. I'm a class driver. The night rolled on with drinks and laughter, but at some point the thrill of the day wasn't enough. I tossed out, "Who's up for a drive?" expecting them to jump at the offer. Instead, they stared like I'd lost my mind. Without waiting, I headed out to the car, fired up the engine and tore off into the night, pushing the car to the limit. I hadn't gone more than 500 yards before everything went wrong. In a flash, I smashed into a wall and a lamppost, the airbag exploding out of the steering wheel like some awful slap of reality. Dazed, I crawled out of the wreck, staring up the street in stunned disbelief. The rush was gone, replaced by a cold emptiness, a hollow echo where the thrill had been. Bricks were everywhere, scattered across the street like echoes of the crash. People poured out of their houses shouting curses in my direction, their faces twisted with anger and fear. I looked up the hill, saw my mates sprinting toward me. They must have heard the impact from Jake's, and they were calling out, "Coco, you all right?" I managed a nod, muttering, "Aye, I'm fine, my arm's sore, but all these folk are on my case." The scene was a blur. One moment it was the crash, and the next the police had arrived, trying to piece together what had happened. One of my mates lit a cigarette, but a policeman shouted him down. The car was spilling petrol everywhere, the wreck brutal enough to leave fuel pouring onto the street. Before I knew it, they had me in the back of the van. I looked out the window at the road littered with bricks, debris and a cloud of stour. A sudden, chilling sense of emptiness. What have I done, I thought. At the station they led me through the formalities, took photos, ran tests, asked about the cash I had in my wallet. I emptied out the crumpled bookie slips, the winnings from the day at the bookies, but when I said so, they gave me sceptical looks. It was the truth, but in that cold, fluorescent lit room, my word held no weight. They tested my breath over the limit. I wasn't proud of it, but it was no surprise. They threw me in a cell with nothing but a thin blanket, and I drifted in and out of a cold, restless sleep. Morning came, biting and unforgiving, and I asked when I'd be let go. They finally opened the doors and left me to walk home, alone, all the way from Methil to Leven. As I trudged along the high street, people stared, whispered. News of last night's mess had spread, and I felt their eyes on me, felt the weight of their judgment. I was lucky to be alive, I understood that now. A friend's younger brother had once been in a similar crash, but he hadn't been so fortunate. I remember the funeral, the sick feeling of guilt. It seemed so unfair that I got to walk away and he hadn't, and yet none of that was on my mind. As I passed the bookies, I felt a pull like gravity. It was Sunday, after all, the perfect day to place my bets, to drown out the noise, to forget last night. I pushed the door open, stepped into the thick, familiar atmosphere. One guy was shouting at the TV, urging his dog to the finish line, while another mind whipping a horse, fully absorbed in his own private race. A third guy, hunched over the roulette table, muttered spider bet, as he placed his chips like a web. The place was madness, but it felt like home, a strange, twisted sanctuary. I placed my bets and walked back, mindless of the events that had spiralled my life here. When I got home, I spread my betting slips across the living room floor, planning to lose myself in the afternoon games. The crash, the police, the cell, all of it faded into the background. I could forget it all here, in this strange ritual of numbers and odds. Then the phone rang, jolting me from my reverie. My auntie was on the other end, her voice full of something I didn't want to hear. She was crying on the phone, telling me, "Tomorrow your uncle and I are coming down, and we'll go see the car, it's at Ace Recovery." Her voice shook as she asked, "Is it totaled? Is it a write-off?" I tried to ease her worry, saying, "No, I don't think so. It's not too bad." I wasn't sure if I was convincing her or myself. The next day, after another round of bets that didn't pan out, my aunt picked me up and we headed to the recovery centre. When we walked in, the worker there pointed and said, "That's your car over there." I looked at the twisted wreckage and shook my head. "No, it can't be that one." He nodded firmly. "Trust me, that's yours. You're one lucky kid." I felt a chill go through me as I took in the damaged, mashed up frame, shattered passenger window. He said the engine was inches away from coming through, close to pinning my legs. "Someone was looking down on you," he added. My aunt burst into tears, murmuring, "Your mum and dad are going to kill you." We decided to keep it quiet until they got back from their holiday. My uncle picked them up from the airport and broke the news on the way home. I was dreading my dad's reaction, expecting him to go ballistic, but when he came into the living room, my regret was probably written all over my face. He sat down and instead of anger, there was just a resigned disappointment. "What were you thinking?" he asked. "Not that it matters. You won't be driving again anytime soon." Then my mum came in, tears streaming down her face, and hugged me, saying, "As long as you're all right, it's just a piece of metal." I could see the strain between them. They argued right afterward. Mum had always been in my corner, and I realised how much that meant. 2 weeks later, I was supposed to go to Tenerife with my friends, but they'd told me that trip was off the table. I got the court summons, August 17th, 2000, the day before the trip. I showed up with my mum and auntie, dressed in my best attempt at a suit, but looking and feeling like a kid, realising how immature I still was. When my case was called, the judge began reading through the damage report. £26,000 worth of destruction that night. A lamppost, 6 cars, 3 conservatories, a greenhouse and a wall. In the end, the sentence came down. An 18-month driving ban and a £200 fine. My lawyer assured me this was the best outcome I could have hoped for. Mum sighed in relief and said, "Well, I suppose now you can go to Tenerife." I was thrilled, though I'd spent most of my money by then. I didn't care. I had just enough to get there, and that was good enough for me. In hindsight, that whole stretch felt like life grabbing me by the shoulders, shaking me. The crash, the court date, the relief in my mother's eyes, and even my dad's quiet disappointment. They were all signs, lessons I should have taken to heart. But I was young and reckless, chasing thrills over wisdom. At the time, I didn't see it as a turning point. I just saw it as a reprieve, another chance to chase what came next. I was blessed with a strong, supportive family and a childhood filled with love and stability. My dad owned his own painting and decorating business, pouring hard work into every project he took on. My mum, with her boundless kindness, balanced multiple roles raising us kids, managing my dad's books and working at the local primary school as the dinner lady. She loved that job. She got to watch the kids grow, and she always had a soft spot for the ones who struggled. She'd give them a little extra attention, maybe a small helping hand. She has this knack for seeing the best in everyone, a quality I'd later exploit during my years lost to gambling. My older brother Gordon was the academic star, always the clever one, the one who went to university and now lives a world away in Austria. My sister and I were close, but clashed like cat and mouse as kids. Then there was me, the sporty one, fueled by competition and a relentless drive to win. I was passionate about every game I played, football, golf, badminton. But with that passion came a temper. I'd break golf clubs, snap snooker cues, or shatter badminton rackets if I botched a shot. My frustration was explosive. I'd smash the equipment against my own head as if to beat the weakness out of myself. In football, I'd miss a goal and immediately headbutt the goalpost, sometimes hitting myself as if pain could erase the failure. This might seem strange, even extreme, but for me, it was a way to tell myself, determined, don't let that happen again. Losing was agony, an unbearable feeling that drove me to tears. And rather than address it, I let that drive fester, let it become a silent storm within me. Looking back, I see now how that deep aversion to losing became woven into my very being. It didn't disappear, it merely morphed, quietly taking root in ways I couldn't recognise. I see now that the seeds of that obsession, the need to win, to never fall short, were already sown. It would later shape my life in ways I never anticipated, ultimately becoming both my drive and my undoing.